Acting 101 is a monthly podcast hosted by myself and actors Ben Starr, Abubakar Salim, and Erika Ishii. And the show is possible entirely thanks to our supporters on Patreon, who also got an extra, 13 minutes of this episode. Just a lot of ridiculousness at the start, which related. There might be a chunk of context missing between the first topic and the second topic, just for something that I made an edit to. So please excuse that, but otherwise, enjoy the show. And if you'd like to support this entirely independently made program, you can check us out on Patreon.
I do have an update on the last episode we were talking about how I had a callback.
How'd it go?
And I have an update. I did not get the part. I am now a creative producer on the movie, which I'm now making this film, which
making mad moves.
Okay, I think this
How
is.
can you fail upwards.
I think this is very, very funny. So even the way that I was speaking about it, I think it would be clear to anyone I was talking to that I liked the script and I was interested in making the movie, but I didn't care about the character. So I'm not really surprised at all that in that callback, that's what they took from it. The advice that Ben and Erika gave me was just go in and be excited and ask questions. And I guess I did such a good job of that they were like, we're not going to cast you. We do want you to work on the movie though. So now I'm creative producing this film. I've been casting all week. We're location scouting right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm just making this movie now.
I don't think I've ever in my life auditioned for a project and then been hired as production. That is do you know the actual people who make the decisions?
I know.
That is literally failing upwards. That is ridiculous.
I think when I told Rahul, he initially was didn't believe me. Until I was like, no, hear me out. The reason is I went into that audition so excited about the script that I guess when they were just talking to me about what I liked about it, instead of saying anything about the character, because again, I didn't really care about the character, I gave them a bunch of things that they had not even thought about. And it's has a female lead. It's a horror movie. There's plenty of female centric things, and I guess it's written by and being directed by a man.
Bye,
I guess.
Bye.
See you later.
He's
he
not
said,
interested.
women?
He's just talking too much about it. I was like, oh my God. Oh, can you not for 1 second?
Classic.
God.
Yeah, that I had perspective of things that they hadn't considered, and they were like, "Oh, we should hire her." So now I have a contract, and I'm a creative producer on this movie, which is amazing.
Have you ended up casting the role that you auditioned for? Have you helped cast that?
I didn't help cast that, but I've helped with everybody else.
That's
so
crazy.
I am now just casting this movie. Yeah. And the girl that we've cast as the lead is objectively the correct pick. And it's just such a weird it's insane.
Is it Zendaya?
Always the correct pick.
We just got Zendaya.
Always Zendaya.
Can't go wrong. Sorry, what was my question? Oh yeah, Erika. Yeah, I think you were answering it. It's do you ever worry about being put in a specific box regarding my friend who is huge on TikTok and suspects it may have hurt her acting career?
Oh. Well, I think it's that you and I are part of a very small sort of group of people who started out as internet people and as sort of public figures or known for something else other than acting, and then were able to successfully be considered actors. I mean, just the fact that whenever somebody, brings me onto a podcast like this or, is like, well, you're an actor. I'm like, I am. But, I started as
not really,
a host. Well, and, but as you get more and more credits and you work on things more and more, it's going to be harder to deny it. Because people will think of you and, in the space of actor and
Sure.
not just as oh, well, we need you for numbers or we need you to be relevant with the youths or whatever, they want you for what you can bring as an actor. But it's interesting because, it's a very sort of rare transition in that regard. I know Sun Wong, ProZD, perfect example of that, who was just making hilarious, incredible, very successful content, but was also a classically trained actor. And that was the same with me, is that I grew up doing, I went to the Method School and UCB training and being in stage productions and on camera. And then sort of when none of those things were casting people when they didn't want me. Hollywood didn't want me, and so I decided to start telling my own stories and making my own content, and transitioned into sort of hosting games and playing tabletop games. And then from there, it just happened to dovetail at the same time as voiceover, where there was a lot of people in voiceover that were also in sort of Twitch tabletop games, and I was interviewing game developers and had game developer friends, and I'd be handing them my demo and getting into the audition pools. So yeah, mine was a very, very strange eclectic path, but I think that just due to the sheer amount of things that I continued to do, I've been able to sort of fall into the actor bucket, I think. But I think also there was a deliberate a push on my part. I think it's really difficult to ride that line between being a fan of something and being just a consumer.
Yeah.
Because actors, we're all fans. We're all fans of the things that we work on, but also we have a certain amount of training and a certain amount of professionalism with which we conduct ourselves both in the booth and in public, because I think especially in public, it's about sort of curating your brand, as much as I hate to say it. Like,
kind of
so
what I'm
much
talking about, I guess. It's like, what is that?
Yeah.
Especially
so much
when
of
these
being
days
an actor is, having to be your
Sorry,
own
go ahead.
marketing team.
But that's what I was going to say. It's
just
like, you
being
have
an
to do
actor
10 jobs now.
Yeah.
We maybe have lag. I think we just could have walked over each other like 10 times.
Oh, sorry, I'm probably...
You're great.
No,
you're
you're
all
good.
great. I'm here in Irvine, California, at the Bandai Namco thing.
You keep
for
seeing
exactly
men
that.
walk behind you. It's freaks
they're
me
all
out
my
every time.
men. I said I must have men, and they must walk past at all points to see how important I am.
It's in your right eye.
I said Bandai, bring me men, and they delivered. Yeah, but that's it. I'm doing this thing with Bandai Namco, doing a stream with Clive, and that requires presenting skills, and that requires other things like.
True.
You see it now. The Future Game Show, they do it all the time, right? They hire actors to do it. They're doing it with Jen English and Nolan North next, and it's like I did it back last year with Sam Bayard, and everyone's done it. Did Erika? You've done it, right? You did it.
Yeah, I did with Troy.
You did it with Troy.
Yeah,
so it's like
fun.
it's a thing that they do, and it's a completely different skill. But actually, if you can master that, it's a great way of building your brand as a personality outside of the game itself, and that does require a lot of work. I mean, I'm sure we've covered it before on this podcast, but it's really, really, really hard. And you raised a really interesting point, Erika, about this idea of the traditional forms of acting that we you come from a theatre background, so we're told, it's theatre, it's TV, it's film. That's the outlet, but there is no understanding of what it is to work in animation or work in video games, especially. And it's like we just landed here. And now that we've kind of landed here, it's also really interesting. Actually, it's equally as closed off. It's equally as closed off as film and TV.
True.
I think anyway, because I have so many people come and ask me like, "How do you do it?" And I really can't tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you because I feel like it was complete luck. I don't feel like there was a plan. There was just one day I wasn't, and then one day I was, and I just made myself available to the chaos that is this industry. But then building your brand on top of that allows for other opportunities. Of course, another man. Thank you, sir. Like, it's more men.
It's every 2 minutes required.
But it's closed off. I feel maybe that's me being naive.
Yeah. That's the thing, is that everybody has a different experience of how they got into it. Mine was the exact opposite, is that like I targeted games. I wanted to be part of games. And so I would go to GDC or IGF or like, E3, and I'd pass out cards and I'd talk with people and I'd say, if you ever need voices, or it would start as like, please come on your game looks so cool. Can I show it on my Twitch stream, and can I interview you? And then like, if you ever need voices for a future game, let me know. Dream Daddy, one of my earliest roles was because I was at the Hyperlight Drifter launch party talking with a friend who was, saying, oh, I was thinking I'm working on this game, and like, here are some of the concept art pieces, and this is what it's about. And I was like, I would do anything to be in that game, please. Like, and so, yeah, for me, it was very deliberate.
Sometimes people just don't ask. Like, sometimes you do just have to tell people the things you're trying to accomplish, and sometimes a lot of people just don't ask.
It's really scary to ask, especially when you grow up sort of femme and a person of color, and you're like not supposed to take up space or ask for things that you want, but just sort of being able to, because it was also, I think you guys know the difference between sort of transactional networking and like actually making friends in a space and getting to hang out with people and having colleagues.
Yeah.
I mean, we're friends. Erika, I technically hired you already to do VO. Ben, I did a call for you yesterday for something I'm casting. And Abu, I have also already tried to cast you in something. There's like, literally every single one of you, I've reached out to all of you at one separate time to be like, hey, how's this accent? Because working with your friends is fun. It's definitely like, so it's, you know.
No, for sure.
Could be a transactional.
But is that
relationship is a different thing.
For people who aren't in whatever you want to call it, the level of circle of influence or the circle of friendship, is that, and I'm not saying that that's what you're doing, but I always sometimes think that like it's amazing because our friends are very talented and very good at what they do, but maybe people would argue on the outside that it's the same thing. We want to work with the people that we like, and if you tell people that, then that is really the secret to it, is be nice, be good, and be, you know, on your best game when you're there, so you can prove that you're really good at it. But at the same time, I sometimes think this when I've been cast in stuff because I was there, I was literally there. Is that cheating? But I'm like, no, because that's kind of the game, right? Like
the thing I reached out to you about last week, Ben, I'm only ever going to do it if you're the right person for it, right? Yeah. Like I would never have sent you that question if I wasn't like, oh, I know someone who'd be really fucking good at this, and then I have that thought, and then I would ask. I'm not cheating you into a role. It's a role you happen to be good for, and I happen to know you, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it
just makes sense.
It does make sense, and it also makes sense to be good, because you're not going to get something if you're not good or you're not going to write. But also, always see yourself as the solution to the problem, you know, and present yourself as the solution to the problem. That's what you said, Erika. Like going and being like, "Hi, can I do this thing?" Yeah, we have a problem, and you're the answer. You know?
Have we spoken about nepotism before? I don't know if we have. I have a stance on good nepotism and bad nepotism. In that bad nepotism, Kim Kardashian's kid getting hired in that Lion King performance and doing a really bad job.
Oh God!
Good nepotism. You hire people that you know are reliable, that you like working with, and that are good at their jobs and are the right call. Yes, they're still people you know, but you are benefited by knowing that they're good at the job. Like it's still nepotism that I would hire someone that I reliably understand can show up on time and is good to work with and doesn't have an attitude, but it is still someone I know. That, I think, is what most of us want to do. And I don't see it as necessarily fundamentally different to someone saying, oh, you need a plumber? My brother's a plumber. He's great. Nepotism plumber. You know what I mean? It's just funny, that it's a much more desirable industry.
Like, I would say, you know, starting, you know, my game studio was very much of like hiring the people that I know and working at it that way. And it had that weird reverse effect of like, don't get me wrong, like the people that I knew and that I hired were great and they were good, but it was almost like there was a level of demand that wasn't necessarily being able to be reached. And it ended up essentially happening that like, naturally, you know, they would bring in friends, and their friends who were in the industry, you know, knew what to kind of, you know, what to bring and what to do, and it kind of it weirdly balances itself out. I think what nepotism, or from my experience of nepotism, it's like you can't hide talent, or you can't hide the truth, right? You can't hide how good you are at something. So at the end of the day, like talent always comes on top. Like that kind of merit, that element of like, you know, being good at your job always comes on top, no matter who you are or where you are. So yeah, it's funny. Like I've always found the idea of nepotism quite hilarious, because it's like, yeah, okay, sure, hire your best mate, but if they're gonna do a terrible job and burn money for you, that's on you. Like, you know, and that's the thing. But if they're talented and they know what they're doing and you have fun doing it and you enjoy it, then that's like a double whammy bonus, you know?
Yeah.
So
it also reflects very bad. It just reflects very badly on you.
I was about to say, you know, sometimes people will thank me for an opportunity or something. I was like, no, you don't understand. You're making me look good. you know, and I'm not afraid of doing work of like going and searching out the best candidate for something. But like if I happen to know someone who is probably like in the top 10 in the world in their category, then I'm gonna just ask them. But Abu, I actually had a question for you about, we were talking about sort of the idea of curating brands and being thought of as one thing versus another, but you came to voiceover through on-camera acting, yeah?
Yeah,
And then made the move to like game developer.
Yeah. You know, I've been wrestling with this thing for a very long time. Like, I've got a lot of friends who are like, huge on Instagram and huge on this stuff, and like just do all that kind of weird kind of social media sort of play, and it's always about, the idea of the brand of like who you are as, who you are and how you represent yourself and how you present yourself. And I think for a long time, I would wrestle with this idea of like, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do my Instagram this way or talk that way. But I find like the most receptive people have been is when I've actually just been really honest and been really truthful with what I do and how I am. And that's just how it works. And I think what you end up realizing as well, it's like the industry itself has changed so much. Like, yeah, okay, we probably went through a phase where like, financiers and sales agents was like, but how many people do they have, following them on Twitter or Instagram? And it's like, well, actually, that doesn't even matter anymore, because, they could be an absolute douchebag and have all these
Or they could be bots.
Yeah, they could be bots. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, it's
So
all
dumb.
fake.
I did see someone say this week that like they, I don't even remember which actress it was, but it made headlines saying that they worked with someone who would only hire people if they had like over 1 million followers on Instagram or something like that. Is still a thing.
And you know what's funny is like I remember talking with my agent about this, and my agent would always say, well, if they're doing that, then you don't want to work with that dickhead.
True.
It's true, because at the end of the day, it's like, if you're seeing these followers as a way, like it's like you're relying on mass of people, and you're almost treating the audience as idiots, of being like, yeah, because they follow X, Y, and Z, they're obviously going to buy X, Y, and Z product. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. And especially in games, like, you've got to be really, you got to do your job, man. Because if you don't do it, people are going to look at you and be like, well, what the hell is this? Like, why am I spending X amount of hours on this? And I think like that's the truth. It's like talent and skill, like, outshines that. So yeah, I feel like there was this fear of going into games and like kind of diving into games, especially from like the film TV space and doing that. And being like, yeah, I'm a full-on gamer and stuff. I mean, even like I remember talking with Ben about this. Like, we would talk secretly about our love for games. Like, it wasn't a public thing, right?
Yeah, a little club,
like our own little social club. But the truth is, it's like, I have been very outspoken about my love for games, and I'm in House of the Dragon.
You were worried that liking video games would hold you back?
Oh, 100%.
Really?
Like, it was, yeah, because it's such a, it's like a...
What year was this?
I mean, like...
2017.
No way.
17. It was like the thing...
Really?
Oh, totally.
Because it was seen as a lesser art form?
Yeah.
Not even like, I mean, like, yeah,
I'd
you
say,
could, yeah, it's like a lesser art form, but it's also just seen as like, video games. Oh, it's like where kids go and, just kill prostitutes. It's like,
We've come a long way since Pac-Man.
You know what I mean?
It's that. It really is that.
Wow.
It really is, yeah. But
and again, Abu and I come from a very rigid classical training. Success was very specific, and yes, we've all had very different experiences from it. But our training to the professional world, ending up on the same TV show together, there was this kind of expectation of how you did things as an actor, and in the UK anyway, video games is a side hustle. You get paid nothing to do it, really, unless you really break in and are able to kind of like figure out how to get around what is quite a broken system in the UK. But yeah, it's seen as a side hustle, a dirty little secret. Oh, I go and do a couple of hours on a game, but my real job is my job in telly, and my real job is whatever theatre. It's the prestige. Video games are like a thing that we can do. We've got to sign NDAs. They're so secret. I don't know what it is. Is it out? I don't know. I don't care. I got my £250 an hour plus a £500 buyout. You know, that's what it was.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, there's still that prevailing attitude amongst even people within the industry. I think that there's like sort of a deep disrespect for games. Like, and it doesn't bother me because I know they're like it's more successful than film or TV combined, and I know like how important I targeted it because I was so excited about it as a medium. And I think that even within games, sometimes there's this idea that like, oh, but we really want to make it like, but cinema, that's like, movies is the real brass ring and stuff. And we want Hollywood celebrities to like games, and we want people to consider. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, and it's like, but then those people say like, we don't play games. We don't like, those are for kids. And it's not, I mean, that's just not how it is anymore.
But also,
you know?
why do we need Hollywood celebrities when we can have video game celebrities?
I know,
and
it
I
drives
don't mean
me
that in
crazy.
the sense, but it's like there are people out there who can speak about games in the same way that, you know, whoever Timothy Chalamet talks about, you know, wanting to be great. It's possible because it is such a valid medium, and I think because it is essentially an interactive medium that has the ability to be narrative as well. It doesn't require narrative in order to be a video game. It doesn't require actors in order to be a video game. There is still an uneven relationship between what actors can bring to a video game, whether they're needed, whether they're unnecessary post-production, whether they add any value to the strength of the narrative, when ultimately some of the greatest games of all time are just Mario going, woohoo, and that's it. Like, is it needed? Because it's a gameplay-first medium. But I love it. I love it the most. I've never been more creatively fulfilled than I have being a part of this industry. And it's such a difference from Abu and I secretly going to Bluebird Cafe in Hungary, you know, 2017, being like, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? And now it's like we're doing it. And all my friends who are at drama school together were like, and all people like casting directors that I know, or you know, who I used to do a lot of, and I still do. I still see whenever they see me, they go, "You seem to be having a lot of fun, don't you?
Yeah,
You're having a lot of fun with that thing that you do," because
No
they don't
way.
know what it is that I'm doing.
You gets me.
Yeah, they're like, "You seem to be just doing a lot of fun stuff, don't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and it's great, and I'm not going to apologize for it. I love being an idiot, and I love doing this game.
So weird, 'cause the games industry is my whole life, so like I made it my whole life. I moved countries for it, so it's so weird to me to like hear how it's perceived on the outside really at all, because everyone I know plays video games, and I've been that way for such a long time. Like sometimes I forget that it can be very ostracizing, or at least was.
I feel like I am like with events that and stuff that I'm sort of invited to. A lot of people are like that do not play games. It's one of the most exciting things to talk about. It's so funny. Like I was literally, I mean, the reason why I wasn't able to join, right, was because I was at this funny little sort of like Oscar BAFTA. I don't even know what party it was, but it was with Demi Moore, which was lovely, which was great. But you know, everyone is talking about, you know, what are you doing? What are you acting in? What are you doing? Whatever. And I'm like there being like, yeah, well, you know, I also make video games. And literally you can see people's
games. What is that?
Honestly, people's eyes like light up because they're like, what are games? What how do you do? And they love it. And like when you're able to express essentially and say like, look, it is an art form that still expresses, you're still able to create and tell some really cool stories through it. It isn't the sort of, you know, it can go from the Pac-Mans to The Last of Us. Like there is something there. It's you can feel almost like this excitement bubble in everyone, and these questions and this idea of like, oh, that's really, really cool, because there is a genuine. It's almost like it's that unknown. It's still that unknown territory that people, you know, still are like, I want to know more, kind of thing. But yeah, and there is a genuine excitement for it. Like people who talk about it passionately are people who are really passionate about it. You know, you don't kind of come into games to be famous. You really, like, that's very rare. Like, I don't think I've ever met anyone who's in games to be famous, because it is such a difficult industry.
It's just
I
fail.
want it.
Sure.
We're kind of joking, but actually, you know, we're part of it. Like I was talking about how Alanah and I are sort of part of this, sort of group of people who are fans of games and specifically wanted to be in games or just like happened to get there through internet and through fandom of games. But I think that's becoming more and more common. I think you see a lot more people that get into games and anime and things because they are specifically targeting that. And some of those people have classical training, and then decide to do it, but a lot of them don't, and they are specifically trying to feel out this new Wild West medium and to become famous and make a living doing just games.
I will say, sorry, and I don't want to overstate this and act like it's everybody, but I definitely do have a perception that there are some people who think that video game actors aren't real actors, and if you only have video game acting experience, you're much less likely to be hired in live action. You're kind of barred from other things. Or that in casting for things that are very big projects, a lot of, again, even huge video games are often looking for screen actors because they feel like it brings them validity. So it's I don't know that that's totally widespread, obviously, but it's certainly still a thing that I think exists in some people.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know if it's with I don't want to say with gamers though. Do you know what I mean? I feel as soon as they see a screen actor, I feel they almost have to work harder, because if they do it, unless you're Keanu Reeves, Keanu Reeves is just loved by everyone, right? But don't get me wrong, even the idea of even seeing Idris Elba, for example, in a game, there's a part of me that's all right, well, show me what you got then. Because there is an element of it's a different beast. It's a different kind of thing. And I think truly there is this sense of okay, sure, hire your film, the film sort of movie star or whatever. But I feel you're gonna have to work 10 times harder, because you can't just rely on just your face.
I agree. It feels like stunt casting.
Yeah, exactly.
Really? It is stunt casting, and I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of dismissiveness amongst on-camera actors about games, it's not, again, not necessarily widespread, but yeah, I think a lot of them don't take it as seriously and don't really care about it as much, or not as invested. And sure, you can still turn in a good performance, but also I don't know. There is so much incredible talent in the field of people who are voiceover and video game actors. And I think that, automatically assuming because somebody has credits in film and TV that they are a better actor.
Valid.
Is just,
It's a very difficult discipline, and it's incredibly difficult to impress in this medium. Very difficult to impress. I think because how can you impress with? I mean, you're very fortunate, very talented, Erika. You're about to be, you are the star of Ghost of Yote, in which you get to use your face as well as that, and you're doing. I'm insanely excited. But I imagine it's a very different thing than doing 4 seasons of a TV show, doing what it is that you're required to do, because you have to do 100 different things. You're doing performance capture, you're probably doing VO as well, you're doing party chat, you're doing all the you're doing fight stuff. There is so many different disciplines to what it is that you're doing, and to be able to do all of those convincingly is very difficult. It's very, very difficult. And
I remember
you have.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go on. No, please.
I was going to say, I remember Rod Ferguson, who was previously the director on Gears of War and currently director on Diablo, telling me that he had tried to work with very famous actors, who I won't name, but that he told me the names of, who could not do VO. And he was like, it doesn't go the other way around in my experience, but it in that VO actors often can do screen acting. But he was like, I expected these people to just nail it in the booth, and there's so many of them just weren't able to do it, because I guess you just have so many, you both have more tools and less tools.
Yeah.
It's just a different set of tools, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's totally different, and I think it's really funny because I think that I remember talking to drama school students about the idea of getting into games and being it is a different beast. You can't just rock up at a booth and be yeah, I can pull this out of my ass. No, you got to really know what you're doing. You got to know, there is a music you've got to, it's like an instrument. You've got to really play that instrument, because you can't hide anything. You really can't hide anything. And I think like that, and it's funny with like film and TV. And again, don't get me wrong, like I think there are there is a skill and there is a way of with, especially within film and TV, where you can see actors who know what they're doing and they just work that camera. But it's a lot easier to get away with bullshit on screen than it is.
Editing saves a lot of performances.
It saves so much. And that also costume, also like the writing, also, your other castmates. Whereas in games, you're listening. Like, and that's an important tool. And so you're really you're really laser focusing on detail. And if you screw that up, like it's tough, man. It's really tough.
And there are a lot of things probably about screen acting that are skills that you get over time that aren't the acting part. It's the knowing what the other person's coverage is going to look like and being aware of the shot and like working with everybody else, you know what I mean? Or like making sure that the camera operator has a good job, knowing just a million things on set that also help everybody else on the production, which is not acting, but a skill that is so specific to that environment that is still very helpful. I guess it's part of acting, but it's not just your performance.
Technique. Like, it's in the same way it's like stage technique, camera technique, microphone technique. They're all different things, but they are equally important. Yeah. I was filming something the other day, was doing like a stupid commercial for something, and we were pressed for time, and it was all about me. And as much as like there isn't a director, it's ultimately like my job to make it easier for lighting, for the camera. It's like if I wanted to do a thing that we can't quite get it, I have to figure out in shot how we can make it happen, and I can adapt my performance to what the camera requires in order for us to get things done efficiently. It's not an ideal world, but it's like I'm very fortunate enough to spend enough time on camera to understand how I can adapt my performance to make it easier for the 5 other people who are otherwise going to have to waste 30 minutes resetting up the shot and redoing the lighting. And that came from the doing of it, in the same way that me getting okay. You've got to be a good actor, of course, but like those tiny things come from doing. And it's like in the same way that you can be the most amazing actor, but you have no microphone technique. You have no like voice technique, but you're a brilliant actor. You're innately very good. In the same way that you see that right now there is there's a show on in London, and I don't like being negative about this. There's a show on in London right now with Brie Larson. It's called Electra. It's not getting great reviews. In fact, it's getting quite bad reviews. Because and people are talking about her performance as being underpowered. She's the only, she has a microphone. Everyone else isn't mic'd.
What?
And I think it's a very experimental, but cool idea. I just don't think it works in practice. But you have an Oscar-winning
the Greek Electra.
Yeah. And so the chorus kind of doing crazy stuff, and it's getting quite bad reviews. Brie Larson is objectively an outstanding actor by every metric. Brie Larson is brilliant. There's a reason why she won an Oscar for Room or The Room, whatever it was. Room. It's an amazing performance, and she for her entire life has been magnetic. But clearly, in this production, it's not translating, and maybe she hasn't done stage in a while. And you're going, well, what happens is the technique there isn't quite right, and that's not because she isn't an excellent performer. It's just that they just haven't nailed whatever that magic formula is. And she's actually doing a screen performance on stage because she has a microphone, so she's giving a screen performance. And so
I have to see this now.
Apparently it's batshit crazy. Loads of my friends have been to see it, and they're like, it's one of the weirdest things you'll ever see. I think it's quite bad.
I do love
but
weird theater.
You can't fault its ambition. You can fault its execution. And I think
it's interesting. There's just non-translatable skill sets. I remember my dad was a camera assistant growing up, and there was one actor who he said like just could never remember lines, or was like having a hard time like sort of with the repetition of it. But then one actor was a stage trained actor and just would like, she had it word perfect every time, like could play around with it, like just there's some skills that absolutely translate, but then not the other way around.
So how important do you think a director is in something like that Brie Larson situation? Like, do you think it's their job to give you those tools? Like, how much do you think they can help or hurt you with those specific, like, lapses in skill set?
I think in stage, director is king.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, literally, it depends on the medium, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, director. Certainly, if you go to the West End, you've got really, really famous directors. Like when you're at drama school as well, there's directors you want to work with. You want to work on a Lindsay Turner production. You want to work on, is it Ivo Van Hove? You want to work with Jamie Lloyd. I mean, Jamie Lloyd does a lot of stunt casting and stuff, but it works. It gets bums on seats. You know, there's the Much Ado right now with Tom Hiddleston and it's not Gemma Arterton. It's another brilliant actor who plays Peggy in the Marvel universe. And like he does like Hollywood casting in plays, but he gets really like
he gets good performances out them. Though.
He gets good performances, yeah. And Ivo Van Hove did this. I think it was A View from a Bridge.
Oh my god! Oh, it still stays with me, man. that show.
It was iconic.
Stage strange. I thought Mark Strong was.
He was, yeah. But it's the same thing where you're watching Mark Strong, but you're watching Mark Strong in an Ivo Van Hove production of A View from a Bridge, and you are watching this thing, and it was this epic thing.
It's just a white box. It was beautiful.
Yeah, Robert Icke as well. I think it's Robert Icke, his name. Like he would do these. I remember watching a 5-hour production of this. I think it was The Odyssey, and it was just absolutely insane. But like what I'm saying is, director in stage is king. In TV, maybe. If you're doing a long form, like it's more the writing.
Voice acting.
Yeah, and I'd say like it's more like. Oh. No, I was just gonna say like if in regards to like TV, like I feel like the actor has to do a lot more work. You're right. It's down to the writing, definitely, but the actor has to definitely do the work because the director's probably either focusing on 101 different things, like even working with like on film with Ridley. Like Ridley's getting the composition, everything. Like it's like he's working with. There's so many beasts that you're having to sort of to spin. Like you expect the actor to come in to do their job, to know what they're doing. Obviously you get like a little direction, but they know what you're doing. Whereas in comparison to stage, like it is so important because that is the focus. It's the performance. It's what you're delivering. So I think it depends on the medium. And I'm sorry, Erika, you were going to say something about voice acting, right?
Oh, so for voice acting, I feel like there's a lot on the actor because you just have to make real strong choices, and sometimes even the director doesn't have the information that you need. So a lot falls on the actor, but for sure, I think the director who selects the takes and gives you any amount of context and interfaces with the client, and like a lot, it rides on a director in a voice acting situation. And I think there are similarly some voice acting directors that work with stunt cast people and just pull out incredible performances out of whoever that they work with. Like one person that I've been fortunate to work with a lot in past is Amanda Wyatt, who did the Horizon games and Ghost of Tsushima and the Death Stranding games, and like across the board, Amanda just gives every bit of context and advocates for the actor as well, because sometimes the devs don't know, like, oh, we should put all the fight efforts at the end of the session, to not wear out their voice, or like this is the kind of thing you don't give them a line read directly. You sort of give them the circumstances with a little more clarity. And just there's a lot of directors that I'm very grateful that I've gotten to work with, and who sometimes takes material that is, battle chatter and things is kind of generic and can be kind of like, now you need to walk over here, I'm under the table, and like gives it like stakes. Helps give it stakes.
I always talk about Ashley Birch's performance in I think Ashley Birch's performance in Horizon, just in general, should be studied. I think because Aloy talks a lot, and people would argue that Aloy talks too much. But Ashley sells everything, because Aloy is actually quite a boring blank slate of a character. Like really nothing really happens. That's a criticism of that character. But I think Ashley's performance for me is something that I really studied when I was doing Clive. And there's a line which was, sounds like the water's changed direction, which is a thing that I quote between directors that I use, which is Ashley selling the line of you doing a puzzle, completing it. And then she goes, sounds like the water's changed direction. That's a stupid fucking line. It doesn't make any sense. But she sells it so brilliantly and you so believe it because she believes it. And it's just the most amazing thing. And I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of their work in Horizon. And it's really inspired me of how to do that. This would be good for my pack or whatever. And it's annoying as hell. Shut up, Aloy. But it's so brilliantly sold that you believe it in the world. And it's effort. It's absolutely effortless. I just want to shout out that performance.
Ashley Budge is fantastic. I think my single worst performance was when I was, again, I say more cameos than acting. I followed exactly what the VO director told me to do, to a T. And I thought that was the right thing to do because I was new, but it wasn't. It meant that I didn't make any significant choices. I just did exactly what they told me to, which, if the VO director is not an actor, is not an easy thing to translate. So I took it far too literally. I didn't inform any character choices or even really make any. I just did what I was told. And it worked out terribly, in my opinion. I don't like it at all. Because I was far too literal with that direction, which is not on. I don't even blame them for it. It is on me not understanding what I would bring to the thing, and instead just thinking that they knew best, but they don't necessarily. Where character is concerned, they know what they need to fill out the checklist in some cases. In this particular instance, that's kind of what it was, and it didn't work because I was far too literal with every instruction they gave me.
I will also say that.
Go ahead.
I think you're subject to the problem with a lot of video game direction, which is directors are not necessarily trying to get performance; they're trying to get content, which is they're on a line count, and so often you'll get brilliant central performances that are enhanced with nuance and time with the character. I imagine Erika at the end of doing. Is it Ghost? Ghost? Yeah, Ghost of Yotei. Yeah. You could walk in and just channel that character instantly. There's no need to do the setup and the explanation. So you're just pumping out lines left, right, and center. But it's very, very difficult to get. You're getting a day player in who's going to do 5 different characters, and you've just got to get those lines out because they are NPCs. And it's difficult because you're not getting the direction. You're just like, I just need these words said out loud, and that's fine. No one's going to care. Because I think there is so much stuff that goes around that. They have to populate the world with living humans, whereas film, it's like those people in the background, they don't have words. They're just going to make some rhubarb noises, I think maybe.
Yeah, I would definitely say it correct. And part of why I've enjoyed working on Dispatch so much, which is the game from Ad Hoc Studio, was announced at the Game Awards, is they're making it really fun for me in a way that they're like, do one that's just insane, or like they'll give me this is the intent of the line, but phrase it however you want. And so because I've been encouraged to play around with it so much, it's actually the most fun VO I've ever had, in that it's very, just do it. Why not just do it? Because I don't feel like they're rushing me. I think it's probably what it is. It doesn't feel like it's the direction it's coming from a perspective of efficiency. It comes from a perspective of how do we get the best out of this? And it's been really, really fun to work with that team, specifically on Dispatch. But I also get efficiency.
Video games are cool.
Video games are cool. And I think when we were talking about TV direction being different, surely a lot of TV is very formulaic, right? So it could be the showrunner can be deciding what things are going to look like, and the directors don't even have that much room to move. It's already set up. The script, like you said, can do most of the heavy lifting, and the rest of it is technical proficiency. And I've always wondered how they pick directors for TV. I guess I'm directing an episode of a TV show next month. But how do they pick, if you're not having the same person the whole way through, how do you make those calls?
I think it's from my experience, there has been a feeling of the directors are still able to have their stamp, even though it is, within the parameters that are set by the showrunner. So they're able to kind of dance that fine line and kind of almost access creativity through limitation.
Yeah.
but there is definitely like, you know, you need a consistency, like a almost like a continuity to the show itself, because if you do try and do something different or weird or standoffish or standoutish, like, you know, trying to stand out, it
doing
it
a
does
bad
stick
job,
out.
kind of.
Yeah, you know, and I think like, and so that's why I'm a bit like, especially, it is very important to have a showrunner, but then I'd say like it is important also to have directors with different perspectives and opinions, because they are able to bring something fresh and unique out of like a 10-hour series that you're going to be, you know, sitting and watching. You know, that's 10 films basically, you know, so it's like, so you've got to kind of make it fascinating and interesting in some way, in some respect. So, but yeah, it's funny, like the director role is one that is incredibly important, and I think the less you see them sometimes the better. It's like,
sure.
You know, it's very,
TV, it feels like on TV they're like a shepherd of, again, I feel like in this discussion I'm quite cynical. I feel like directors in TV are shepherds of content still. Like, you have, let's say House of Cards, Fincher directed the first episode, then everyone else had to kind of go after the aesthetic that he created. You know, Severance, Ben Stiller directs the first episode, then everyone has to go after what that is. And I bring up Severance because when we worked on Jamestown Abu, in the first series, there were episodes, second block, so episodes 3 and 4, were directed by a director called Sam Donovan, and the DOP was Susie Lavelle. Susie Lavelle went on to DOP incredible stuff, Normal People, and most recently, Sam Donovan and Susie Lavelle worked on episodes 2 and episodes 5 of Severance.
Severance, yeah.
Because I was like, why does this look so good? And it was Susie Lavelle, who is, I just think, one of the most talented DOPs working in the industry today. And they directed 3 and 4, and they came on, and Sam was having real fucking problems, because he wanted to direct his version of the show. He should have been the first director. And
this is Jamestown, right?
This is Jamestown, yeah.
Right.
He came on and he wanted to direct. Him and Susie had this incredible vision for the show, but John Alexander had already directed the first 2, so that was the template that we had to go down. And so I remember him having real issues, and I think something like 30% of the stuff that he shot was cut, you know, and so it was
no way, wow.
And it had to be reshot, and his episodes. I mean, Susie was pregnant in a grave shooting. Like, she is absolutely this incredible powerhouse of a DOP and makes anything look beautiful. If you just go and kind of like Google her stuff, she's just absolutely stunning. Works on everything, and yeah, it's that of like he wasn't allowed to be creative. He had to be.
Right.
He had to be a person who was delivering the same product, the visual and aesthetic consistency of that. And he wasn't so much interested in what we were doing as actors, because we'd already decided that wasn't it. He was interested in the visual style, so he was quite hands-off on our performance.
So again, though, why do they have... Again, I'm saying this, I am directing an episode of a TV show next month, and I specifically requested to direct the last episode because I have the least experience and wanted to make sure I could see how everybody else did it, so I could straight up
to do the last episode of a TV show.
Yeah. But
it's you mad?
There's a second. There's a second reason for it that I can't say. There's a second reason that I also asked for that. But
it's about video games.
No, it's not. But there is a reason, and it is fun. I was gonna say, why do they not just like hire a director the whole way through most of the time? I don't know the answer to that question. Why you need 10 directors?
I can answer that because you can't edit. You have to go into the edit, and that. So if you're in pre-prep. And then you're shooting, and then you're editing. So you've got to get. So what you'll have is editors coming up. They'll do in pre-prep for maybe a month or something, and then they'll come on and they'll do the shoot. So once you're doing a show, you'll then be having them doing recce's for the next couple of episodes, the next block, and they're shot. So it basically means that you can get it all done in that time. There you go.
Erika, you seemed like you were going to say something, which is why I paused.
Oh, no. I was thinking that from what it sounds like, it's that I'm just curious, what medium do you feel does allow directors like creativity as opposed to sort of getting things done?
Film and theater.
Because film and theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say games as a caveat, like it depends on the game.
Yeah.
So like, for example, like with Zao, for example, I had very much the creative freedom to just be like, this is my vision, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to build, right? And because I was voice directing, I was also, kind of creative directing. I was all that shebang. Even like with this kind of the game that we're building now, like I'm very much like hands-on, like this is my vision, this is the idea of it. Which is great. But yeah, I think TV is interesting. TV, unless
can and it can't. We're totally generalizing, right? Like it definitely depends on the show.
It depends on the show.
But what is it about, as someone who's never worked in theatre in any capacity, what is it about stage directing that it is fundamentally different / what makes it so important?
It's just go on.
You're directing the actors, so like.
That's unusual.
Yeah, you're directing. Well, actually, sometimes you don't. Actually, that's a complete lie. Sometimes directors don't even bother and they just let you do it. That's. But a director, it's their production. There's just something incredibly autocratic about theatre.
Yeah.
For better or for worse. Directors are megalomaniacal geniuses in theatre. They'll be like, they're creating literally the vision of the whole thing, and they work directly with all the departments. Obviously, they're in charge of it. And there's something about when you bring a director on, you're bringing their entire artistic vision and placing it in a theatre. You're placing it in an individual television set or an individual console, and you are saying, this is the place to go and see this thing.
And while they are restrained by the stage, they're not restrained by, we need this camera to look this way, or this lighting has to look this way, like as much.
Yeah, but what about when somebody directs a show and then it just lives in the West End or Broadway for years and years and years, and then you just kind of then it becomes this machine, and then you just have to sort of continue on
though.
that.
Yeah, it's a different beast, I'd say. As Ben was saying, like it's associates, right? Then it's the associate directors who then end up kind of taking over that kind of space.
Sorry, dumb question. Yeah. Do you always have a director like backstage, like if they're doing Wicked, a show that they've done 10 plus years, I don't know how long Wicked's been running with the same cast, do you have a director who is actively directing you every night?
Not every night, no.
Okay.
I'd say like you've got the whole rehearsal period, and then they've got like leading up to press, and then once press night is done, maybe like a few other days, the director will come in, but they will move on, and then it's just left on you get notes, and then it's left on the associates and everyone extra.
When you're discussing like a musical, this is kind of very on the edge of my brain right now, because one of my best friends is in a production in the West End called The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and it's brilliant, acting musicians, and it's pretty fresh. It's only been on for maybe 4 or 5 months, and it's doing really well. But obviously, you have a limited number of actors, and they don't learn parts; they learn tracks. So they're having to replace other people's tracks. So you learn where people move to, because there's this kind of real ensemble feel. And practically, you're in rehearsals maybe for 4 weeks, maybe if you're at the National, maybe 8 weeks. That's already done a load of R&D, and then you will go into previews. And previews, you're still being directed up to that point, because you're still making changes. And that preview period can last for months. Like if you're Spider-Man, it never gets out of previews. And that's when they keep changing it, because it can't be reviewed. And that's when the tickets are cut price. And then once it goes to press, New York Times is in.
That's it.
What are the reviews? And then you stop directing it. And that'll be it. The director will still come in, but usually that's when director will then move on to something else, because they've already spent 6 months on this. And then, the associate comes in, and that's why Warhorse one of my friends cut her teeth on Warhorse, traveling around the world and being the associate on that, which ran, or the Curious Case of the Dog in the Nighttime. Like, same thing. You just go and you learn your craft, you learn how to be with a company and how that functions, and then you go and direct your own stuff.
I love that we never plan topics for this show, and it always goes in some direction of something I didn't know and am very interested in. Never would I have thought that I would be like, how does theatre directing work? Tell me about that. Here we are. Very, very interesting stuff. On that note, I have to run. Abu, what have you been up to?
Apart from trying to make a video game and also be in House of the Dragon. Just...
The question is, is there anything that you would like to promote? Is what I'm actually.
Oh right,
Plug House of the Dragon. No one's going to watch it.
I can't really say anything about anything at the moment. I'm in that weird period where there's some really cool stuff that I can't talk about yet.
But that's something we're excited to find out what all that is.
Yeah. Okay. That's it.
Wait,
I don't even know if I'm allowed to even say that we're starting it. Anyway.
Ben, what have you been up to? What are you doing?
I don't know, some stuff in it. I'm making some video games now, but if anyone wants to go and be interested in the first Berserker Kazan, that probably comes out quite soon. It comes out next month.
Yeah.
And then the month after, Expedition 33 comes out.
I think Expedition 33 looks so fucking good, dude.
It looks so beautiful.
That's
exactly.
I'm in it, guys.
No, I'm so into it.
I'm excited. I'm excited for that video game, for people to play it. Yeah.
Me too. Yeah. And I don't even know what that means. Really important.
It's fun. So yeah, I've just got some games coming out.
Yeah, that seemed really pointed, but I am very excited to play it. Yes.
I'm excited.
Didn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't it? No, I feel like you saying that makes me nervous. You know, I feel like the expectations for this game are really, really high. They're really, really high.
Because it looks incredible.
But also, I love the premise. It's very leftovers. I'm super into it.
I have no idea what the premise is. I have no idea about it. I just know that it looks really, really good.
Everybody no one lives past 33. Is that correct, Ben?
It's kind of Logan's Run, isn't it?
Oh, that's amazing!
Yeah.
Very anime. I'm super into it.
Oh shit! That means I die like next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and me both, dude. Ages. 93 babies. We're dead next year.
Damn.
These two are already dead, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll hold the fort down for another 12 months.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You'll avenge me, right?
Yeah. From whoever did that. I don't know who is killing everybody, but yeah, very excited about it. Sounds rad. Erika, what are you working on? Anything you can promote?
Yes, my podcast with Brendan Mulligan, Abria Iyengar, and Lou Wilson, Worlds Beyond Number. It's a narrative play podcast. We're telling a little story with our friends, and listen, I say it's very good. It's very good. It is the best improvised storytelling that I've ever gotten to be a part of, and I'm so grateful to be part of it. More stuff on Dropout is dropping constantly. And also, I just wanted to shout out, I'm not involved with it, but Daisuke Tsuji, who was the Ghost of Tsushima, is in a production at the East West Players in downtown Los Angeles of a Cambodian rock band, and it is the most moving, important performance. I've seen it twice. It is about healing and hope and music in the face of authoritarianism and war.
Amazing.
So, yeah, I highly recommend if you're anywhere in the LA area, go get it. It's with the East West Players, and it's just really, really incredible.
Send me some links on Discord, and I can put them all in the description as well. That'd be a cool thing to promote. So.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining, everybody. Thanks for hanging out, everybody who's watching. Our next episode will be on March 28th. We'll see you then.